Good morning. Sun is shining. We're headed towards a weekend with warmth here in Ohio, and it's a good day to talk about something that I have been ruminating on for a few months. I've thought about writing it out. I've talked a little bit about it in some different talks that I've done publicly, but I figured it was time to sit down and kind of share this here. We are in a period of culture shift. And I think you see this all over the place. I think you see little tidbits of it, people talking about it. But I feel like some of the conversations that people have been having are kind of missing the point. So let me see if I can put my spin on this. For a long time, we were going down the road thinking that we were all one culture. When we hit the COVID pandemic situation, this culture, it had already been sort of splitting, but the culture has reached a point because of the pressure of this pandemic where we are just on opposite sides of the V. And we have a lot of people that are trying to stand with one foot over here and one foot over here. So let me explain each of these sides. This side is a culture that is very interested in mechanization and automation as an answer to everything. And I want to try and present both of these cultures as valid. They're valid cultures, whether you are on this side of the culture, whether you're on this side of what's happening in the Western world. Both sides are valid. It shouldn't be an us against them. Unfortunately, the pressure of the pandemic created that. So this side of the V, let's say, my left hand, which will be reversed in the camera, my left hand, this V, is automation. So the answer to everything in life is to have a new scientific advance. And this is in health. It's in how we manage the environment. It is in and whether you should have free time and what you should be doing with your free time. It's how we are schooling our children, our young children. It's how we talk about everything that comes from government is on this side. That's the dominant culture, I should say. I guess I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So folks over here are automation at all cost and life management by automation and technology at all cost. This side of the V believes in autonomy. They believe in freedom. They believe in original design. They believe in that there isn't control. They are outside of a technology and a desire for technology to manage life. So these people on this side are, on my right hand, are homesteaders. They're people that are wanting to grow their own food. They are wanting to take care of their bodies naturally in accordance to what they see in nature. They are nature and creation oriented. For a very long time in our culture, we have had both of those cultures living side by side. And it seemed like, to the dominant culture, it seemed like we were all the same. And we just had different nuances. We just had some people who were crunchy. And the pressure of the pandemic brought this culture on this left-hand side, because they believed that they were the culture that everybody else was. When they saw people that were trying to manage illness and trying to manage their bodies and their environments in a different way, they saw this side as rebelling against the dominant beliefs. They didn't see that it was a different culture. And so they began to exert pressure um, taking away the autonomy of the people that were in this culture, and pushing, um, and maybe not entirely pushing an agenda because they believe that they should take over for people, but because there is just simply a misunderstanding that we have two cultures. So I think a lot of people that are on this side of the V, if you told them that we're going to go into somebody else's country and they have a different cultural way of being, a different cultural way of bringing up their children, it's the enculturation that is very different than ours. And if you told these people on this side that we're going to go into that country and we are going to completely decimate what these people believe, we're going to just tell them that they can't think like that and they can't live their lives like that, and they have to do it our way. I think some of those people on that V might be really shocked and feel that that would be really wrong. Of course, this is something that has played out in history forever and ever and ever, that we have a culture that amasses power and begins to exert its own cultural ways onto another culture. Um, the culture that has amassed the power, obviously, the technology dependent culture has amassed power within our media and within our medical profession and within our, they've also got it in the government, because technology has infused into our lives in such a prevailing way. Those of us, and I'll say I'm on this side, those of us on this side of the V use technology as a tool, but we do not use it as a means of living. I would rather be outside of these systems and live my life according to what I see in creation, the systems that were set here by my creator, as opposed to living by some man-made idea of what we should have. I don't view the use of technology as a gift from God, or an ability, or a gift that's been given to people to develop when it becomes a ruler. I don't think all technology is evil. I would say that a lot of people on this side of the V don't see all technology as evil. It's how we use it and who's wielding it, and whether or not it is the basis of where you make all of your decisions. So, for a very long time, you could sort of be this crunchy person that believed in the natural order of the body, the natural order of nature, and you could live amongst and with your neighbors who believed in automation and technology as the ruling factor of our lives. And when we hit the pandemic, it became really obvious that we were two different people, but the understanding of what that has been lost, and it has been used against us. Actually, the misunderstanding that we have two cultures that were always living side by side for a long time, um, got used against us in this idea that those people over on this side of the V they just hate other people. They're selfish. They don't care about, um, they don't care about their neighbor or grandma or the child down the street who can't partake in technology. It's just a completely different way of life. And these people on this side of the V are opting out of the schools that are enculturing the behavior of technology and automation at all costs. They are opting out of the medical systems that are reliant over here, because the truth is you can't live anymore on both sides of the V's. You can't straddle the gap is so wide now that you cannot put one foot on this side and one foot on the other. You have to choose. If you live on this side of the V, this is a very different way of life. It is, when you accept technology as the way of your of your being, of the solution for everything. You accept food that is being created. I want to be careful really too that I'm presenting this. Know that I have a bias, but I'm trying really hard to present this in a way that is fair. If you believe that technology at all cost is the solution, it's the way forward, it's the only way forward for humanity, then lab grown meat and things that are produced with better living through better chemistry, it makes a lot of sense. The created food is necessary. Um, and unfortunately, from what I know of living a different life, I can see a very logical progression here. If you eat the lab grown food, you also need the lab grown medicine to maintain health. It is a choice in how you are going to live your life and maintain your body. Living in crowded areas in cities requires more man-made medication props and man-made food because you don't have the resources. It requires, if you put your child into daycare because nobody is at home to raise those kids, if you choose this lifestyle where the corporate structure and technology is pervasive, the daycare structure is not meant for a child the way that the original design is of the body. You have to prop it up. You have to protect it against what happens when humans are in overcrowded situations. And you have to prop up the body with vaccinations and medications because the human organism is living in a different structure than nature and original creation dictated. So these things are obvious. They are required. The vaccinations are required for life. And there is no understanding inside this V of why this V wants to live without them, because to do so is against the nature of the structure of the culture. The structure of the culture on this side of the V requires the very things that this side of the V pushes against, because this side of the V has a very different enculturation. It is raising their children to plug into natural systems. It is raising their children to step away from the screens, to not have the exposure to the radiation, to not be in large groups of people massed together, to eat real food that is grown from healthy soil. And that puts them on a very different trajectory and quite literally not needing the things that are required over here for this society. And if you look at both of these cultures equally and you hold them as both valid, you can stand over here and you can stand over here, and we could continue to live together side by side, or maybe separate city and country. But we have to respect that it is all the way down to the roots. It isn't somebody over here who is trying to live, and you cannot try to live a corporate life with your children in daycare and eating the convenience foods, and then also try and live like you respect the original design of the body. You can't do that. It doesn't work. It may have worked at one point when things weren't so divided, when the food and medication weren't so technologized. I don't know if that's a word or not. I'll have to look it up later. It may have been something that you could have done. And I would say I probably tried to live like this at different points in my life. But the pressure of this pandemic has split our culture in such an ugly way. And the misunderstanding in this space is actually cranking out the distance, because it is pitting neighbor against neighbor. If you had a neighbor from a different country that lived next door to you, you would automatically assume that they had different ways of looking at animals and looking at plants, and they had different ways of looking at the health of the body. And it would be an easy assumption to look at somebody who has maybe a different eye shape or skin color or accent or speaks a different language. It's really easy to see their cultural difference. But when it is somebody who looks the same as you, or it feels like they must be the same as you, it's very difficult to see that they are fundamentally different. It isn't just a rebelliousness over here. And that's really what is being seen through this pressure, is that everybody that is seeing the best in technology thinks that this dominant cultural way that they're seeing in the media and through their through from their doctor and from their legislators, this dominant way is the best way. And the people that are pushing against it are just bad actors. They're just pushing against the norm. They don't see, we're not seeing this split. And this side of the split sees these people as evil and pushing against everything that is natural and trying to destroy. We are tearing each other apart because we don't recognize that we're living in two different cultures side by side. And it has become very apparent. If you are trying to live the life that is in the mainstream and you're trying to partake of what's over on the other side, it's just not, you're going to fail. If you eat this food, you will require this medicine and you will require the things that are needed to prop up a life that is outside of the natural structure. This is a decision to live in a technology bubble separated. I don't understand it. I wouldn't want to live like that. In fact, I have chosen to live in systems that are completely outside of this bubble. But there are people, your neighbors, who are very dependent on this and love this bubble and believe in this bubble as the way to save humanity. Just as I believe that this side of that cultural split is the way to save humanity. I think the only way, and this is something that I'm making a mental note to do, the only way to really understand the way forward here is to understand how, is to look at other cultures that have been kind of tangled up in each other side by side and have begun to split away. I don't think the study of that is going to be a beautiful one. I don't think we're going to find a lot of, I think we're going to find a lot of war and a lot of strife. People groups have separated in their basic beliefs. If you go all the way back through history, you will find this over and over again. We teach in our homeschool, we teach the story of the world, and my kids have watched this happen throughout religion. Catholicism split out when people began to fundamentally believe something different about the Bible. And we had Protestant and we had Catholicism, and then Protestant has split a number of times. I think we're seeing now another fundamental split. I think we have to look at how we've done these splits as humans in the past and look at the ugliness as much as looking at how it was eventually smoothed over, if it was smoothed over. What are the gems we can mine from the past to make this an easier thing? Because right now we are absolutely living two different Americas. And it's causing heartache, and it's going to cause it's causing economic problems. It's going to cause more and more uh, of a move towards war. Whether we're able to do bloodless revolutions here, the way that some of us are organizing our businesses and stepping away with homeschool, I pray that that is an option. But I don't think we're going to be able to truly live in a peace with with these two cultures living in close proximity on the same land without a recognition that they truly are two different cultures. A culture is not, it starts at the very root of how you raise your children. And these two splits, the two sides of this, are starting their children off completely different. It is absolutely two cultures. If you begin to look at your neighbor as somebody who's in a different culture, and you begin to respect that they have a very different view about how life is started, how it proceeds, how it ends, um, we can begin to appreciate our differences and peacefully step away from one another and separate that out. Um, how we live together, I don't know yet. I really look for you guys to react. Um, those of you who watch this, I look for you to react and tell me what you think, and what do you think your solutions are. Great ideas are brought about as we come together in community like this around an idea. So uh, I hope you give me some feedback, drop me a note, talk to us on social media, share this broadcast, talk amongst your friends. Let me know. Am I really, really wrong? Am I right? Do you have ideas for solutions of how we get out of this mess? We're going to keep moving forward here at Soda Farm Life. I'm going to keep moving forward, educating people in the way of living on this side of the V, because it's not really my place to talk to people on the other side of the V. That's their culture, and that's their decision, and that's their body. Um, but where the other culture pushes against my culture and tries to take away my freedoms, tries to take away my ability to raise my children in connection with creation, we're gonna have to fight. We're gonna have disagreement, and it's visceral. It's not just let's agree to disagree. This is fundamental to the way that we resonate with our creator, the way that we live our lives, the way that we are here and in a state of being. So this isn't going to clear up quickly. Share your thoughts. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you here next time.